After an unprecedented month of shut gates and little movement in Lagos, Ogun and the FCT, the charge is to persevere a little bit longer for bigger gains in the containment efforts against COVID-19. While some states have little or manageable numbers, some others are threatening to spiral out of control. Also on Political Update today, the legislative arm is resuming to lend a helping hand in helping to steer the ship of state past the social and economic coral reefs occasioned by a raging pandemic. We'll also examine domestic competence in the production of key medical equipment in this fight, science, technology, and innovation for the shelves of our society. Thank you for joining us. I'm Fisai Ogunfui. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari says the restriction of movement in Lagos, Ogun and the FCT will be gradually relaxed from Monday the 4th of May 2020. This was based on the recent realities and recommendations by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. The president, in a nationwide broadcast, however, explains that such relaxation will be guided by certain measures to be put in place. Usman Aliyu captured highlights of the broadcast.
It's 28 days that normal business is halted because of the novel coronavirus. Exactly 2 months now with the first index case. President Buhari, who speaks to the nation, said it was a difficult decision to shut down businesses, but acknowledged that the sacrifice of Nigerians did not go in vain. And so for now, as the president puts it, the situation has necessitated the government to take further decisions to jumpstart the economy, with farming activities commencing. President Buhari, who expressed optimism in winning the battle, said the success of the strategy put in place to curb COVID-19 proved that Nigerian support was the catalyst for the progress recorded.
Based on the above and in line with the recommendation of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the various federal government committees that have reviewed socio-economic matters and the Nigerian Governors Forum, I have approved a phased and gradual easing of lockdown measures in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun states effective from Monday, 4th of May 2020. However, this will be followed strictly with aggressive reinforcement of testing and contact tracing measures while allowing the restoration of some economic and business activities in certain sectors.
But that decision comes with it other measures that will not compromise the fight to halt spread of the virus. Again, the president emphasized on the new order.
For the avoidance of doubt, the lockdown in FCT, Lagos and Ogun states shall remain in place until these new ones come into effect on Monday, 4th May 2020. The Presidential Task Force shall provide sector-specific details to allow for preparations by governments, businesses, and institutions. In respect to the above guidelines, the state governors may choose to adapt and expand based on their unique circumstances, provided they maintain alignment with the guidelines issued above.
Meanwhile, the commercial state of Kano, which for now is seriously battling with community transmission, is attracting special attention of the federal government, as outlined by the president.
With regards to Kano, I have directed the enforcement of a total lockdown for a period of 2 weeks effective immediately. The federal government shall deploy all the necessary human, material, and technical resources to support the state in controlling and containing the pandemic and preventing the risk of further spread to neighboring states.
While lamenting over rising figures of the new cases, the president explained that imported cases from other countries has reduced, but only managing those Nigerians coming through land borders. The President expressed deep appreciation to the Christian Association of Nigeria, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, traditional and community leaders for their maximum cooperation to save Nigeria. In Abuja, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
Many thanks, Usman. Now, the federal government has announced special COVID-19 incentives and allowances for frontline health workers. Under the new package, health workers in federal government teaching hospitals, medical centers, as well as designated COVID-19 isolation and treatment centers are to be paid 50% of their consolidated basic salary. Ms. Harripan reports on these and other issues emanating from the daily briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
The old gives way for the new at this PTF briefing as the Minister of State for Health abolished the previous 5,000 naira paid across board to health workers and announced new incentives negotiated with healthcare unions.
A special COVID-19 hazard and inducement allowance of 50% of the consolidated basic salary is to be paid to all health workers in federal government teaching hospitals and federal medical centers to last for the first 3 months in the first instance. B, 40% of the consolidated basic salary will be paid as special COVID-19 hazard and inducement allowance to health workers at special non-public hospitals and clinics. In the interim, government agrees to grant extension of service for a period of 3 months in the first instance for health workers retiring within the COVID-19 period.
As part of the latest incentives, health workers directly managing COVID-19 cases at isolation and treatment centers will get additional 20% of consolidated basic salary as special risk allowance, while non-core medical professionals will get 10% of their basic as risk allowance. The trend of multiple deaths in Kano State continues to be a major concern to the Presidential Task Force.
The federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Health, is deploying a high-powered fact-finding delegation to work with the state to improve COVID-19 response, as well as ask questions
to find out what is going out, to take samples, to send them into the lab.
State governments involved in repatriating Almajiris to their home states were advised to consider their security and welfare.
If we do not deal with the issues relating to the Almajiris, we are building an army that would overwhelm us as a people and as a nation in the future.
I don't know how we can divert Empower funds for the COVID-19 response on palliatives. That is another fake news.
With 2 more molecular laboratories activated in Sokoto and Zaria, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says it is in talks with reputable firms to scale up COVID-19 testing capacity in the country. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
All right, joining us on Political Update is Dr. Umar Binder, former Secretary to the State Government at Adamawa State and former Director General National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP. Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's look at it from this. The lockdown has been extended for another week after, about a month. Now, the broadcast yesterday indicated that there will be gradual reopening of the economic sector. How would you describe the past month, and then what do you want to see in the next one?
Well, I think going back to the basic principles of the lockdown, where people are told to literally stop so that the health workers can be able to now go take samples, take it to the laboratories, test to see who is affected, and then see if we can be able to trace where these affected people have been, so that we produce a map of exactly what has happened. So in that situation, I think in that process, there's a lot of media hype to do with this COVID, so people understood. There's a lot of understanding about social distancing. People understood. There's heaps of wearing your masks to make sure that when you talk to people, you don't inhale. People have understood. And wash your hands, apply sanitizers, and so on and so forth. While all those were going, I think people are now aware of the dangers of this coronavirus. People have understood the importance of staying at home, but the tension of our hand-to-mouth kind of population, people who live by the day, started mounting gradually. You have thousands of Keke Napep drivers. So now you've locked down. All these Keke Napep drivers are at home. So what happens? You have a lot of people in the market selling bits and pieces to eat every day. Now they are locked down. So I think the gracious consideration of the PTF to advise Mr. President to gradually relax this with the understanding that people have understood that they don't touch their faces unnecessarily, they will maintain the social distancing, they will be wearing masks, they will be using sanitizers, they will be washing hands with soap, will continue, and that will probably maintain that sanity while we gradually pick up on the commercial end, allowing people to move around.
Let me pick you up from your experience a bit as former, SSG. Government, brought its own action plan. Of course, it percolated down to the states, but each state had its own design, its own pronouncements, and how it wanted to go about it. In terms of coordination between the tiers of government, how would you rate it and its effectiveness in terms of getting the messages, the messaging, and as well as the modus operandi down to the villages and the hinterland? How would you rate the success?
I think starting from the top, from the Presidential Task Force chaired by the SGF, with all the key stakeholders in that task force, Minister of Information, Minister of Humanitarian, the NCDC, and other professionals, and I think with their daily intensive work, briefing Nigerians literally by the hour, has actually worked. That central functioning has enabled Mr. President to be advised to lock down FCT, lock down Ogun State, and lock down Lagos first because of the numbers. Now, I think very, very quickly, again based on Mr. President's interaction with the governors, all the governors have triggered their own local committees, most of them chaired by their secretaries to the government, some chaired by their deputy governors, and they've started vigorously, although unfortunately, some started playing politics in the sense that, we are not affected, we are better than others, and so on and so forth. But I think with time, people started seeing in the states that this is a very serious case, and this is a disease, this is a killer disease, and therefore we better take it very, very seriously. And I think with the centralized control of the NCDC to do with testing kits, to do with the reagents, to do with the testing, I think that helped to make sure that all the tiers of government are well coordinated in fighting this disease.
Now let me come to your sector, which one would have looked at as perhaps some kind of frontliner in this in terms of the responses. How has our science and technology sector responded to this emergency? One, from the perspective of production of PPEs and perhaps test equipment, in terms of synergies to make sure that these things come to the market and the testings are done. How would you, rate the performance so far? And also looking at, maybe peer review, looking at other countries in the continent as well as globally.
I think if there's anything that Nigerians should learn, both its leadership and its people, from this coronavirus, is that first, it's coming from outside Nigeria. It just dropped on us. Second, it does not know who is rich, who is poor, who is a politician, who is a technocrat, and so on and so forth. It can damage anybody. And third, and most important thing, is that it is a killer disease. And very, very fortunately, the coronavirus, yes, it kills, yes, it makes people sick, but it also has an embedded opportunities in it. And the opportunities is, if people can see, is the response Nigerians actually do to things. Amazingly, So many institutions, governmental and non-governmental, including industry, responded by designing and manufacturing face masks. Heaps of people started manufacturing sanitizers. A lot of agencies, I know at least of Naseni, that has designed and produced these fumigation sanitization tunnels, and they've done even the respiratory facilities. Many universities came up with, even private young people in Jos. I spoke to the young chap. They came up with a fantastic hand washing and sanitizing, So the response within a week is fantastic, and therefore that, to me, is an indication that our leadership should understand that the strength in science, the strength in technology, and the ability to innovate in Nigeria is there. And therefore, we need to take that particular sector very, very seriously and extend it as an opportunity to our agriculture, to our solid minerals, to our poverty reduction, and so on and so forth. This is the way to go, and I'm so excited that these issues have emerged this way.
I've listened to you in the past and read some of your publications. So you spoke about the valley of death between the town and the gown, but we'll probably come back to it if time permits. But a state that is nearing, sharp panic in terms of the citizenry is Kano, because the number of mysterious deaths recorded in Kano in the past fortnight has led to rising panic among the citizenry. Our next report says the health professionals there are investigating.
These people are a group of mourners on their way to bury their loved one. The state that is always vibrant, bustling with business activities, is today on its knees, crying as people are dying mysteriously. A visit to one of the cemeteries at Fage local government area, people were seen mourning their loved ones. In just a span of 24 hours, 28 people were buried in this cemetery.
At least like 25, 18 and above died every day.
Yeah, afraid. People are just dying. This morning alone, we buried 11 people and more are coming.
And the story is the same everywhere in the ancient city. Just on Sunday, Bayero University Kano lost two of their very best professors. Although most of these deaths are said to have no connection with COVID-19, people are afraid of the unknown. Kano state government described the situation as worrisome, but has commenced investigation to unravel possible causes of death.
The Ministry of Health has swung into action, and they have already been supported by both the NCDC and the Federal Ministry of Health to find out what actually happens.
For now, the residents are praying and hoping for divine intervention. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karai, NTA News.
Thank you, Fatima, for that report. Meanwhile, Kano State government has applauded President Muhammadu Buhari for the streamlined response aimed at combating the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic in the state. We'll move on to the coronavirus pandemic, I beg your pardon, in the state and the country at large. The State Commissioner for Information, Malam Mohammed Garba, said in a statement that Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje has commended the drastic measures announced by the president, saying that coupled with the effort of the state government, it would hopefully go a long way in mitigating the situation. Now, in terms of sheer numbers, that is worrisome because Kano is a highly populated city, and we're looking at even people taking the corpses to the burial. Still no safe distances, everybody's still cramped together. That's a huge worry.
It's a very sad situation, and it demonstrates to our country that this cut and paste for what has happened in other areas in our country may not work solidly. It means our communal history has to come into play now. People must help each other. People must, Kano is a typical system that demonstrates that you need to move all hands on deck. There should be fumigation all over the place. There should be hand washing facilities everywhere. There should be masks compulsory worn by everybody. There is a need to ensure that our communal history comes back, both governmental and non-governmental, so that we help each other. But certainly the numbers are alarming, and I think as opposed to other diseases before, HIV, AIDS came, people were not dying spontaneously like this because first people understood you have to be either homosexual or you have to have sexual intercourse to have it. But this one is like you are scared of everybody. You don't know who is breathing the virus on you or not. You don't know which air is infected. And some people, possibly some of the people who are dying are as a result of they have heart problems, and any small thing can actually kick them to death. And therefore it's unfortunate, and I congratulate the president for actually taking these fantastic steps to control it.
All right, before we go, the National Assembly is resuming plenary as a show of commitment to the nation's fight against COVID-19. Chairman House of Representatives Committee on Media and Publicity, Benjamin Kalu, bears his mind in this direction.
The people who are at the forefront of this fight, the medical personnel, and I want to use this to commend them for the work they are doing. I also want to commend the executive. They have taken a step by, having a discussion with the insurance companies to make sure that there is an insurance that is, that secures the people who are, taking this bullet for us. So this is the kind of intervention that we've been doing outside the one we're engaging the federal government. You will recall that this is the People's Parliament. People's Parliament in the sense that when there is a cry in the city, there will be a call in the chamber. We are not alienated from the people. This 9th Assembly is different. We are out there to educate the people about what we are doing on a continuous basis. We are there to, demystify, to open up, to be more transparent so that Nigerians will see we are here to provide real, raw leadership that will impact on the lives of Nigerians. We are not here for ourselves.
All right, with that clarion call and statement of an objective from the House of Representatives, will round off political update for today. Many thanks to Dr. Omar Bender of Adamawa State, and of course NOTAP, and of course we also wish you more opportunities to continue to share your wealth of knowledge. Thank you very much for coming. And for you, thank you for being a part of Political Update on the NTA, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Don't forget, it's time to strive a bit harder and respect laws and order a bit more, so that we keep the country in good health. And of course, they say when the finish line is in sight, the runner puts more effort rather than throw in the towel. Let's hang in there to keep the nation on an even keel by staying healthy and staying safe. Fisagun is my name. This has been Political Update. Bye-bye.